The words cut through the upscale salon like a blade through silk. "I'm sorry, but we don't cater to your hair type here." Madison Harper's voice dripped with false politeness as she stood behind her marble reception desk, her manicured finger pointing dismissively at Darius Thompson. The entire salon fell silent. Every stylist stopped cutting. Every customer looked up from their phones. The humiliation was designed to be public, complete, and devastating. But what Madison didn't know, what none of them knew, was that in exactly 15 minutes, this undesirable customer would own every chair, every mirror, every bottle of overpriced shampoo in her precious salon. And her world was about to come crashing down. Let me take you to Beverly Hills, California, where a simple haircut costs more than most people's rent, and exclusivity isn't just about money, it's about who belongs and who doesn't. Elite Hair Studio sits on Rodeo Drive like a temple to vanity, its crystal chandeliers and gold-plated fixtures screaming wealth at every turn. This is where the rich and famous come to maintain their image, where appointments are booked months in advance, and where Madison Harper reigns like a queen over her kingdom of scissors and superiority. Darius Thompson had no idea he was walking into a battlefield when he pushed through those glass doors. He'd just flown in from New York after closing a $400 million acquisition deal for his company, Thompson Enterprises, a business empire that owned luxury hotels, spas, and yes, salon franchises across the country. His usual barber was booked, he had a crucial investor meeting in 2 hours, and he needed a simple trim. Simple, right? Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to Axiom USA for more powerful true stories. But nothing about this day would be simple, because Madison Harper had built her reputation on one thing: maintaining Elite Hair Studio's image. And in her twisted mind, that image didn't include serving black customers. She'd found clever ways to turn them away before. "We're fully booked. Your hair texture requires a specialist we don't have. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable somewhere else." She'd perfected the art of discrimination disguised as business policy. Darius approached the reception desk with the confidence of a man who'd never been denied service anywhere. "Hi, I'd like to get a haircut, please. Just a simple trim and line-up." Madison looked up from her appointment book, her expression immediately shifting from professional to condescending. She took in his appearance, this successful black businessman who'd dressed casually for his flight, and made her judgment in seconds. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "No, but I can see you have empty chairs," Darius replied, gesturing toward the half-empty salon floor. That's when Madison's mask of politeness began to slip. "Sir, we operate by appointment only. And frankly," she paused, letting her eyes scan him with obvious disdain, "we specialize in European hair techniques. I don't think we're the right fit for you." The salon had gone from busy chatter to dead silence. Tiffany Rodriguez, a young Latina stylist who'd been cutting hair near the reception area, stopped mid-snip and stared. Marcus Johnson, one of only 2 black employees at the salon, looked up from sweeping near his station, his jaw clenched with recognition and anger. The customers, a mix of Beverly Hills socialites and entertainment industry executives, watched like they were witnessing a car crash. Darius felt the familiar burn of discrimination, but his voice remained steady. "European hair techniques? I think you're confused. I just need a trim." Madison's voice rose slightly, ensuring everyone could hear her performance. "Look, I'm trying to be polite here. We're not equipped to handle your hair type. There's a barber shop in Crenshaw that might be more suitable." The geographic reference was deliberate. Crenshaw, a predominantly black neighborhood miles away from Beverly Hills. The message was clear: go back where you belong. But here's what Madison Harper didn't know. Darius Thompson hadn't just built one business empire. He'd specialized in acquiring struggling luxury service franchises and transforming them. An Elite Hair Studio? It was already on his acquisition list. The franchise had been hemorrhaging money for months, losing clients to more inclusive competitors, facing lawsuits for discriminatory practices, and desperately needing new ownership. Madison thought she was protecting her business. In reality, she was sealing its fate. "Ma'am," Darius said, his voice carrying the authority of a man who commanded boardrooms. "I have money to spend here. I just want a haircut." "Money isn't the issue," Madison replied, her true colors now fully displayed. "It's about maintaining standards. Our clientele expects a certain atmosphere." She gestured around the salon as if Darius's presence was contaminating the air itself. That's when Tiffany finally spoke up. "Madison, maybe I could—" "Tiffany, get back to your client," Madison snapped without taking her eyes off Darius. "This doesn't concern you." But it did concern her. It concerned everyone watching this public humiliation unfold, because moments like this reveal who we really are. Marcus Johnson stepped forward, his broom still in hand. "Miss Harper, the man just wants a haircut. I could take care of him right now." Madison whirled around, her face flushed with anger. "Marcus, you know the policy? We've discussed this before. Policy. There was that word again. The same word used to justify every act of systematic discrimination throughout history. If this story has you hooked, hit like and share it to support Axiom USA." Darius looked around the salon, taking in every face, every reaction, every person who chose silence over justice. He pulled out his phone, not to call the police or make a scene, but to make a call that would change everything. 15 minutes, he said quietly, more to himself than to Madison. "What did you say?" she demanded. "Nothing, ma'am. I'll be going now." And with that, Darius walked toward the door. But he didn't leave the building. He stepped outside, stood on that famous Rodeo Drive sidewalk, and dialed a number he knew by heart. "Sarah, it's Darius. Remember the Elite Hair Studio acquisition we've been discussing?" "Yeah, that's right. The Beverly Hills location. I want to accelerate the timeline immediately. How fast can we close?" Sarah Chen, his mergers and acquisitions lawyer, didn't miss a beat. "If you're willing to pay the premium and bypass due diligence, we could have papers signed within the hour. The franchise owner has been desperate to sell. Why the sudden urgency? Let's just say I had a customer service experience that requires immediate attention." While Darius stood outside orchestrating the fastest business acquisition of his career, Madison was inside celebrating what she thought was a victory. She turned to her staff with a satisfied smirk. "See? Some people just need to understand their place. This salon has a reputation to maintain." But Tiffany wasn't celebrating. Neither was Marcus. They'd watched a successful businessman be humiliated based purely on his race, and they'd done nothing to stop it. The guilt was eating them alive. "Madison," Tiffany said, her voice shaking slightly, "that was wrong. You can't turn people away because of their race." "I can turn away anyone I want," Madison replied coldly. "This is my salon, my rules, my clientele, and they expect a certain standard." "A standard that excludes black people?" Marcus asked, unable to stay quiet any longer. Madison's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Marcus, you're walking a very thin line. Remember who signs your paychecks. The threat was implicit but clear. Conform or find yourself unemployed." This was the system Madison had built. Fear, intimidation, and the economic power to silence dissent. But systems built on injustice have a way of crumbling when they meet immovable forces. And Darius Thompson was about to become that force. Outside, his phone rang. "Darius, this is incredible." Sarah's voice was filled with excitement. "I just spoke with the franchise corporate office. They've been looking for a reason to terminate Madison Harper's franchise agreement. Apparently, she's been violating corporate diversity policies for months, but they needed documented proof. They're willing to fast-track the sale to you and terminate her agreement simultaneously." "How fast?" "Give me 15 minutes to draft the papers. Can you get back to the salon by then?" Darius looked through the window at Madison, who was now holding court with her remaining customers, probably regaling them with her version of the events. "I'll be there." What Madison didn't understand was that discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's bad business. While she was busy excluding customers based on race, her competitors were embracing diversity and capturing market share. While she was maintaining her standards, she was driving away revenue. The beauty industry was changing, becoming more inclusive, more welcoming, more profitable for those who adapted. Madison had chosen to remain stuck in the past, and the past was about to catch up with her. Want to hear more untold stories of injustice and resilience? Subscribe to Axiom USA and never miss one. Back inside the salon, the atmosphere had shifted. Some customers were uncomfortable with what they'd witnessed. Others were quietly supporting Madison's actions. The division was clear, and it was about to become irrelevant. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from changing hearts and minds. Sometimes it comes from changing ownership. Exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds after being denied service, Darius Thompson walked back through the glass doors of Elite Hair Studio. But this time he wasn't alone. Sarah Chen walked beside him, leather briefcase in hand, along with Patricia Wells from the corporate franchise office. The salon buzzed with confusion as this unexpected entourage approached the reception desk, where Madison still stood, basking in her perceived victory. "Excuse me," Patricia Wells announced, her voice carrying corporate authority. "I need to speak with Madison Harper immediately." Madison's confidence flickered for just a moment before returning full force. "I'm Madison Harper. And you are?" "Patricia Wells, Regional Director for Elite Hair Studio Corporate." "Ms. Harper, we need to discuss your franchise agreement." The color began draining from Madison's face as the reality of the situation started to dawn on her. "My franchise agreement? There's no problem with my franchise agreement." "Actually," Sarah Chen stepped forward, opening her briefcase, "there are several problems. Discriminatory practices, violation of corporate inclusion policies, and as of 5 minutes ago, a new ownership structure." Darius finally spoke, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority. "Ms. Harper, I'd like to reintroduce myself. I'm Darius Thompson, CEO of Thompson Enterprises, and as of this moment, the new owner of this Elite Hair Studio franchise." The salon erupted in gasps, whispers, and shocked silence. Madison's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. The same man she'd humiliated and dismissed now owned every chair she was standing on. That's impossible," Madison stammered. "You can't just buy a business in 15 minutes. "Actually," Patricia Wells interjected, "you can when that business has been in violation of franchise agreements and the parent company has been looking for cause to terminate. Mr. Thompson's acquisition offer provided the perfect solution." The irony was so thick you could cut it with salon scissors. The woman who denied a black man service because he supposedly didn't belong was now standing in a salon owned by that same black man. Darius looked around the salon, making eye contact with every person who'd witnessed the earlier discrimination. "Now about that haircut I requested earlier." Madison's face went from pale to red as the full implications hit her. You did this out of spite." "No," Darius replied calmly. "I did this because businesses that discriminate don't deserve to exist, and because every person who walks through these doors deserves to be treated with dignity and respect." Marcus Johnson stepped forward, a smile spreading across his face. "Mr. Thompson, I'd be honored to give you that trim you came in for." Tiffany joined him, tears of relief and joy in her eyes. "We all would. This place is going to be so much better now." But Darius wasn't finished. He turned to Madison, his voice firm but not cruel. "Miss Harper, you have a choice. You can learn from this experience, acknowledge what you've done wrong, and commit to treating every customer with equal respect. Or you can find employment elsewhere. What's going to be?" Madison looked around the salon she'd controlled for years, seeing the faces of employees and customers who were no longer under her influence. Some looked relieved. Others looked expectant. All were waiting to see who she really was when the power was stripped away. She began, then stopped. For the first time in years, Madison Harper was speechless. Over the next hour, Darius laid out his vision for the new Elite Hair Studio, a place where excellence in service applied to everyone, where standards meant skill and professionalism, not exclusion based on race, where the talented stylists who'd been forced to participate in discrimination could finally do what they loved for everyone who walked through the door. Madison chose to leave quietly, her reign of discrimination ending not with protests or arguments, but with the simple recognition that her time was over. Some battles for justice are won in courts. Others are won in boardrooms. And sometimes, they're won by people who have the power to transform hate into hope, exclusion into inclusion, and discrimination into opportunity. 3 months later, Elite Hair Studio became the most successful salon on Rodeo Drive, not because Darius lowered the standards, but because he raised them. The quality of service improved. The diversity of clientele grew, and the culture of fear and exclusion was replaced with one of welcome and excellence. Marcus Johnson was promoted to head barber. Tiffany Rodriguez became assistant manager, and Elite Hair Studio became a model for how businesses should operate in an inclusive world. Thanks for watching Axiom USA, where every story reminds us of resilience and truth. Like, share, and subscribe for more. The lesson? Sometimes the person you judge, the person you think doesn't belong, the person you try to exclude, sometimes that person owns the power to change everything. Darius Thompson didn't just buy a salon that day. He bought a lesson in human dignity that transformed an entire business and everyone who worked there. Because that's what real power looks like. Not the power to exclude, but the power to include. Not the power to discriminate, but the power to elevate. And sometimes, the best way to fight racism isn't with anger or protests. It's with action, ownership, and the determination to build something better.